Hello and welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland. Tonight, police review evidence in the case of three brothers who were conned out of their family farm. They signed a power of attorney handing over the farm to two men, including a Church of Scotland minister. But a family member says the elderly brothers weren't fit to agree to it.
To be abused by these crooks, it's so sad.
We'll look at whether there need to be more safeguards around power of attorney. Also tonight, cycling's most prestigious race is coming to Scotland. It's been announced tonight that Edinburgh will host the start of the 2027 Tour de France, known as the Grand Depart. And fishing crews trial a new type of rope that could stop whales becoming entangled and trapped along our coastline. We'll also have the sport with Sheila. What have you got for us tonight, Shields?
Well, Laura, we'll look ahead to tomorrow's big game. Scotland international Stephen O'Donnell talks to us about the Nations League playoff against Greece.
Hi, I'm Laura McKeever. Welcome to the News at 7. Police are reviewing evidence in the case of three brothers who were conned out of their family farm by two men, pocketing over £1 million. The two, one of whom was a Church of Scotland minister, the other a businessman, pressurised Hugh, Roderick and David McCulloch into signing a power of attorney. Two civil cases have since found the attorneys exerted undue influence over the brothers. Their second cousins, Hugh and Helen Fraser, told our reporter Suzanne Allen they want justice for what happened.
There were three lovely old men, and they would do anything for anybody.
You always got a great welcome, always. I could never say a bad word about them.
To be abused by these crooks, it's so sad. I don't think they were in their right state of mind to sign anything. They were groomed.
Roddy and Hugh and them, when we used to go visiting, one of them would always say, "This will be yours someday."
This isn't about the land, though, is it? It's about justice for the men,
Justice
for the
is the
brothers,
thing
for your cousins.
Yes,
Exactly,
yes.
aye.
All I want is justice for the McCullochs. They never got it when they were living, and before I leave this world, I want justice. Sorry.
Helen Fraser there talking to Suzanne Allen. Well, this story raises a wider question around power of attorney. And on this subject, I spoke to solicitor Victoria Leslie, who handled the civil case on behalf of the McCulloch brothers family. And I just started by asking, what is a power of attorney?
A power of attorney is a legal document which essentially is providing consent for somebody else to handle affairs on your behalf. So that could be financial affairs, or it could indeed be welfare affairs making decisions on your behalf. I think some people underestimate just in what is involved in it in terms of it's more than just somebody going down to the bank for you. Effectively, you are handing over control to somebody to handle your finances.
Tell us some more about this case.
Yeah, there were two civil cases. The first related to the transfer of the three brothers' farm and family home to the attorneys. This happened shortly after the attorneys had been appointed. The farm was transferred to them for no payment and was later sold by the attorneys for development purposes. The court found that there had been undue influence exerted over the brothers in transferring the farm to the attorneys, and the attorneys were ordered to pay back almost £4,000 plus expenses in relation to that. The second court action related to misappropriation of funds from the brothers' bank accounts. This happened over the period that the attorneys were in place, which was around 4 years, and amounted to over £700,000. So again, the court had ordered the attorneys to pay back that sum back to the brothers' estate.
And what safeguards could be brought in?
I think there does need to be some reform in terms of safeguards. At present, attorneys have a number of legal duties. For example, they have a duty to provide and to keep financial records in relation to any transactions they carry out. The difference at the moment is that it's not supervised and it's not monitored. I think greater controls at the point when somebody's been appointed as an attorney would be helpful. Greater guidance given to the person being appointed and also to the person making the appointment. I also think that if there could be spot checks, for example, on attorneys' actions, I think a greater awareness of being able to make complaints or raise concerns to the Office of Public Guardian would also be helpful.
Finally, Victoria, what should people consider if they're thinking about appointing a power of attorney?
It's really important that you appoint somebody that you trust implicitly. I would suggest appointing more than one person, which I think also is helpful. Going to a solicitor to go through the process and in terms of making the appointments, because it can be done without a solicitor at present. And I also think in terms of having further guidance to the attorneys themselves through the process of being an attorney. At present, they're told their duties in terms of a document that's provided to them, but there's no oversight in terms of whether they've actually read that document, agreed to the terms of that document.
That was Victoria Leslie speaking to me earlier. Next tonight, up to 800 jobs could be created over the next 15 years at Grangemouth, where Scotland's only oil refinery is set to close. That's according to the long-awaited Project Willow report, which was funded by the Scottish and UK governments. Now, it sets out 9 areas for potential private investment in green projects like sustainable aviation fuel, hydrogen production and plastics recycling. Grangemouth's owner, Petro Ineos, is shutting the refinery with the loss of 400 jobs. Millions of pounds of government investment has been promised, but the report says billions of pounds of private money is also needed. Here's what the First Minister had to say.
The closure of the Grangemouth refinery will have a significant economic impact on this community. It's for that reason that the Scottish Government is investing over nearly £90 million in supporting these communities to face up to those difficulties, and why we're committed to making sure that we are part of the long-term journey to net zero.
Well, Dr Ewan Gibbs has carried out research on the closure of the refinery and the future of Grangemouth, and I asked him what he made of today's report.
Well, it says that Grangemouth is a site with strong potential in greener forms of chemicals production and energy generation. It doesn't lay out a clear pathway, though, to realising that. It holds out the promises of future skilled energy jobs, which are clearly sorely needed at the site in the context of the redundancies taking place at the refinery, but also the wider contraction of Scotland's oil and gas workforce at the moment. I really feel that the big question mark hanging over it is where's the money going to come from for those
Well, that's
activities?
it, isn't it? It talks about billions of private investment being required to do that. Is that money out there? Is the will or the companies ready to do that?
I don't think it's impossible that Grangemouth could be a centre for this sort of work in the future. I think it's possible that money and investment could come into Grangemouth, but we need to also ask about at what cost is that money coming in to the workforce and also the public. If we're going to finance and support this investment, on what conditions is that investment coming in, and what benefits are we going to see from it?
Because millions of pounds of government money has been pledged. So what in the immediate term should the UK and Scottish governments be doing now to make this potential become more of a reality?
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that when we talk about the vagueness of this report, that we paid for this. This is a report that was financed by Scottish and UK government money. I think in the here and now we need to find a way to keep that workforce at Grangemouth, because when I spoke to workers as part of the research I completed around Grangemouth last year, I spoke to workers who were talking about their entire team considering relocating to Saudi Arabia, Australia, other parts of Asia and the Middle East. And if we lose that workforce, we lose really one of the key attractive promises of Grangemouth. Besides that skilled workforce, what else does Grangemouth have to offer? Well, for a start, it has a key set of energy infrastructure connections. It's Scotland's largest port. It's connected to the North Sea industry and also to other key energy infrastructure sites in the UK via pipelines, which could be very important for hydrogen production. It's well adapted to receive large volumes of electricity from offshore wind farms, which again could help produce greener forms of hydrogen. So Grangemouth is well situated for as a key location in the future of a greener form of energy manufacturing.
OK, really interesting to hear your perspective tonight, Ewan. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks very much.
Right, let's get a roundup now of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland. Scottish detectives are examining what's alleged to be the first written evidence from inside Libya's intelligence service that it murdered 270 people in the Lockerbie bombing 36 years ago. A senior Dundee University figure told MSPs that insolvency is a real possibility as it tackles a £35 million black hole with 632 jobs to be cut. 10 Santander branches in Scotland are to close later this year, with others to shut across the UK. The company says it's because more people are shifting towards banking online. A hearse carrying a coffin to a cremation service has had its windows smashed with stones during an attack in Edinburgh. The funeral directors described it as a shocking act of vandalism. For more on all of these stories, you can scan this QR code on the screen now. It will take you to the BBC Scotland News app, where there's more there for you, including Rangers condemning some of their own fans after a disciplinary charge from UEFA. Now, it is cycling's most prestigious event, and it's been announced tonight that Scotland will host the start of the 2027 Tour de France. The first leg of the race, known as the Grand Départ, will take place in Edinburgh. Our reporter, Stephen Godden, is there for us tonight, resplendent in yellow, Stephen. Quite a buzz then about this announcement.
Yeah, there really has been a real buzz about this announcement. The big event here at Edinburgh Castle has just wound up in the last half hour or so, but you can see the castle walls behind me there illuminated yellow, just as a symbol of tonight's news. And make no mistake, this is a big deal. I mean, even people who wouldn't consider themselves to be big fans of cycling know all about the Tour de France. And in recent decades, what has become common is for the opening stages of the race, known as the Grand Départ, to be held outside of France. Edinburgh actually bid to host it back in 2014, but on that occasion, the city lost out to Yorkshire. This time, the bid for 2027 has been successful. 2027 will be a year of firsts. We will see stages of the Tour de France held in Scotland, in England and in Wales, and we will see stages of the Grand Départ held in both the men's and women's races. Now, earlier I spoke to Dame Laura Kenny, the Olympic gold medalist, who told me how important she thinks that is.
I mean, it's a huge deal. The Tour de France is the biggest cycling event in the world. So to be able to have it back in the UK, it's not been in the UK since 2014, it's a huge deal. It is, like I say, it's one of the biggest sporting events in the world. To have that here is absolutely fantastic. I mean, for the next generation to see that, to see both men's and women's, is huge. Like, that's huge in terms of inspiring them, inspiring people to get out on bikes. And that, for me, is what it's always been about.
And Stephen, another big cycling event's coming to Scotland.
Yeah, that's right. Scotland held the 2023 UCI World Cycling Championships, and the bid organisers for this said that was absolutely crucial when it came to convincing the Tour de France organisers to host the opening stages here in Edinburgh. We now have 2 years ahead of us of planning. We don't yet know what the route details will be. That information will come in the autumn, but for now you can see lit up yellow. That means it's happening.
Brilliant stuff. Stephen, thank you so much. Now, in recent months, we've talked here on the News at 7 about a rise in whales becoming entangled in ropes along Scotland's coasts. But now more than 50 fishing crews around Scotland are trialling a new type of heavy rope which sinks to the seabed instead of floating in the water to help to try to solve the problem. Our correspondent Lorna Gordon has been out with one of the crews.
In the waters off Skye, a humpback whale has become entangled in rope. 2 fishermen responding to the emergency move in to see if it can be freed.
There's still a lot of weight pulling this whale down. He's struggling to swim up against it.
The whale needs to surface to breathe, but fishing gear on the end of the rope is dragging it down. They managed to cut it free.
So close, so close. Big flap, way. It's away. Happy days.
Ballyphilp and Hayden Mackenzie are creel fishermen. They've also been trained in how to rescue entangled whales, and there's been a spate of them in these waters in recent months.
It's every fisherman's worst nightmare, having a large animal like that entangled in their gear. But the real trick with entanglements isn't just to train fishermen to disentangle animals. The real trick is to not entangle them in the first place.
And that's what they're working on here. Using a different type of rope may provide a simple solution to this problem.
This new type of rope is heavier. It sits on the sea bed. It's about twice the cost of the rope that the creel fishermen would normally use, but so far the feedback has been very positive.
From Skye down to the Solway Firth and up to Shetland, 50 creel boats have now joined the trial, changing the way they fish to try and minimise the risk of whales, sharks and dolphins getting tangled up and trapped, sinking their creel ropes to the bottom instead of using lighter rope, which can loop and float metres above the seabed.
A move to the sinking line would remove those loops, and therefore in theory we would be reducing entanglement risk for some species by up to 80%. It's certainly a bigger problem than we previously realised. It's happening more often. We've had a bit of a spike in recent months in terms of the numbers that we're seeing.
A second humpback was successfully released when it was found entangled in rope near a fish farm off Skye. Other whales, though, have not been so lucky. Attempts to free this sperm whale, which had rope around its mouth, were not successful. Experts say the animal was probably unable to feed.
It's grim, and you talk to any fisherman who has caught a whale or a shark in their gear and they never want to see that again. It's horrible. Everything's on the change in the marine environment. It's very dynamic, and areas that haven't had whales now do. Areas that haven't had entanglement problems now do. And so, we're trying to future-proof the inshore creel fishery to a certain extent.
Whale-safe rope will cost money. Creel fishermen are supportive, but say they'll need more financial help to cover the extra cost. But its widespread use could blunt the recent spike in horrible entanglements and help protect these much-loved giants of the sea. Lorna Gordon, reporting Scotland, off the Isle of Skye.
Still to come, we have the weather with Chris, and we hear from Kay Adams about how you can recognise heroes in your community. First though, let's get the sport with Sheila.
Hello there. A big year for the Scotland national team with World Cup qualification up for grabs. But before that, a Nations League playoff against Greece. The squad have arrived in Athens ahead of tomorrow's first leg, and so has our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin. Chris.
Yeah, Sheila, it's a squad that has a bit of confidence around it actually after a decent end to their Nations League group campaign after that tricky start. Of course, as you say, the squad arrived here just a couple of hours ago. They trained in Glasgow this morning at Hampden Park. The Greeks also have a bit of confidence about them as well. In fact, their manager Ivan Jovanovic today said that his side are not the favourites for this match tomorrow night. I'm not sure he believes that, but certainly a match that the Scotland manager is not taking for granted.
It's going to be a tough game. Greece are a good side. We know the size of the task it faces over these two games. So we'll go there. We'll give a good account of ourselves. And the most important thing is when it comes back to Hampden that the tie is still in the balance.
Now it is a sellout here, Sheila, tomorrow night. Around 34,000 will be inside this stadium. There is a special buzz around this city, actually. Lots of locals asking about this game. 1,600 Scotland fans will be inside as well. Quite a few around the city today. Many more arriving tomorrow, and we will have plenty more build-up on the programme ahead of the game tomorrow night.
Thanks very much, Chris. So an exciting week ahead for Steve Clarke's side. Earlier I caught up with Scotland international Stephen O'Donnell to talk a bit more about the tie and started by asking him what we can expect from one of the country's brightest prospects, his Motherwell teammate Lennon Miller.
He carries himself with such, how he plays with such experience. You'd think he's played thousands of games. Any game I've seen him play in, he's never been caught up in emotion of it. He's never been shocked. He just seems to just take it in his stride. So I'm actually really interested to see how he's got on in training, find out how he feels, find out what the boys have thought with him, and hopefully he gets some minutes and we're able to see if he can handle it at that stage. I have no doubt he will, but he is young, and it's about being patient and taking your time, and I know there's no better manager than Steve Clarke to help guide them.
What are you expecting from Greece tomorrow?
Look, I think it's going to be a tough game. I think they've won 4 out of the last 5. They're on form a bit better than us, but they have obviously had been in the Group B, so in a way they're below us. So it's going to be a tough game. I think it'll be tight, but I do see us having the quality. I think in our midfield is very, very strong, and it gives most teams being in the tie, I think we'll have a right good chance to win.
Just on Steve Clarke there, he did say earlier in the week that he was 75% sure he would step down after his contract ends after the World Cup. He's obviously done so much for your career. How much would you like him to stay on?
Look, I think what I want and what is what the fans want. If we're successful, we obviously want Steve Clarke to stay in. And I think he's had a ridiculously successful spell. He's taken us to 2 major tournaments, the first one in so long, and then to do it again in another Euros. Albeit we'd have liked to perform better on both occasions, but he's done an exceptional job. The team's going through a wee bit of a transition now. See him bringing through the younger players, and he's able to kind of plan ahead. And if it's not for him in the future, whatever manager it is, it will be in a stronger state than what Steve Clarke found it in. And I think it'd be great if he stayed. I'd love him to stay personally. Obviously, I've got so much time for him. Maybe get me in his coaching team, but no, he's whatever he decides. He's a man of principle, what he thinks, and at the moment he's thinking he's not going to be here, which will be disappointing for the country. But again, we'd give someone else an opportunity.
And speaking of contracts, a new one for you today. How happy were you to get that over the line?
Yeah, no, delighted. Look, I think it's I've managed to play a couple of injuries this season, but on the whole, when I've been fit, I've managed to play. And new managers came in, and hopefully I can continue to play under him and have many more years at Motherwell.
Stephen, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Sheila. Take care.
And there's more build up to that big game on the BBC Sports Scotland website.
Excellent. Can't wait, Sheila. Thank you. Now, is there maybe a person, a group, or even an animal in your local community doing something special? Well, the Make a Difference Awards are coming to Scotland for the first time, organised by BBC Radio Scotland and BBC Radio Na Gael. It gives you the chance to recognise those who are improving lives where we live. Heading up the campaign is Morning's presenter Kay Adams, who told me all about it earlier.
It is an opportunity to recognise those people in your community who are not looking for any glory, but they're just doing great works in various different kinds of fields. And we've got 8 categories in total.
Can you remember what they are? Well, we try and run through them. What are the different categories?
Yeah, we've got the Volunteer Award, we've got the Great Neighbour Award, we have got the Active Award, we've got the Green Award, the Fundraiser Award, the Young Hero Award, the Community Group Award, and you're going to remind me of the last one. It's the Animal Award.
Oh, well, that was the next question. It's not just humans.
By magic.
Not just humans being recognised.
No, it's not. But actually, people involved with animal charities can sometimes sneak into that category as well. I've chatted to a couple. I have spoken to a finalist who was a llama. And also a lovely guy called Dave, who's done an awful lot of work in terms of rescuing dogs down in the south coast of England. So we can play a little bit with that category.
It's the first time that the awards have taken place outside of the English region. So what does it mean to have them come here to Scotland?
Well, I think it is really special because, you know, in Scotland we really do pride ourselves, don't we, on our warmth and our generosity and our care for our neighbours. And so I think for us to have the opportunity to demonstrate that and to be able to shine a light on those people who, as I say, they're not doing it because they're looking for recognition. They're doing it because they think it's important and they want to contribute to their community. But I've spoken to quite a few people who have been nominated and they have been personally thrilled by that. But most of them will then quickly say, it's because I really want to bring attention to this because this really means a lot to me.
What does it mean to you then to be hosting the awards?
Oh, you know, it's so good. And, you know, we don't need to be reminded of the difficulties in the world at the moment if we're looking at a global or even a UK-wide level. So to bring it local again and to really look at real people, real stories, the warmth and the goodness of people. I am so thrilled to be involved in that, and I'm really hopeful that people will get behind it, that they will go to the website, which I can quickly try, bbc.co.uk/make a difference, and look at the different categories and really sit and think about the people in their community that they would like to nominate. You know, if that's one thing that Scotland does well, we do that really, really well. So I'm looking forward to it. And the ceremony is in September, September the 28th. All of the nominees, so we've got 8 categories, 4 finalists in each category. So that is quick maths. 32.
You're quicker than me.
Yes, so everyone will be able to attend who is nominated. And yes, there is always a winner, but to be honest, I think for all the nominees to be there in the company of other people with their loved ones is just a lovely, lovely occasion.
And if you would like to nominate someone, please do go to bbc.co.uk/make a difference, where you can also see the full terms and our privacy notice. Nominations are now open and they'll close on the 31st of March. What a day, Christopher, to be talking about the weather.
Yes.
Sunglasses day.
What a week. And actually, more of the same tomorrow, and temperatures on the rise as well. But let me just show you some pictures, Laura, because once again, when we have beautiful weather and sunshine, lots of them coming into us. Blackness Castle there, beautifully framed in that composition. Great picture from Isla as well, with the blue sky, and Dumfries too. Lots of sunshine around, more on the way tomorrow. Let's take a look at what's happening over the next few days, because it's high pressure that's with us at the moment, but beyond Friday into the weekend, low pressure takes over, and that means a bit of a change to weather fronts, cloud and rain, and temperatures beginning to come back down again. So overnight tonight it's chilly, and that's how we start the day tomorrow, on a rather cool and in places frosty note. A few spots of mist and fog, those will lift, but for much of the country it's a fine morning, a chilly one, but a fine morning, some sunshine. Bit of cloud at times towards the Western Isles, but more likely across Shetland, with a few morning showers here. Those should ease off as we head in towards the afternoon. Elsewhere, it's another fine day. There'll be some high cloud around. That means the sunshine, perhaps a bit hazy at times, a bit milky, but temperatures higher than today. In the west, 14 or 15 degrees, in the east, cooler. And then overnight tomorrow night, not as cold as this coming one, so temperatures at their lowest just above freezing. It should be frost-free for most. Beyond Thursday into Friday, we've still got that southerly drift, bringing in some mild, if not warm air. The winds will be stronger on Friday. There'll be some cloud around, some low cloud towards Tayside and Aberdeenshire. That should lift. And then variable cloud with some sunshine into the afternoon, but temperatures will be higher, as I mentioned. So mid-afternoon, 18 degrees, west central Scotland. Further east, a bit cooler, certainly with a breeze off the sea. 1 or 2 showers towards the west coast. And then to the weekend, you can see on the extended outlook, low pressure arrives taking over. That means a return to something cloudy and wet at times. And certainly Sunday into Monday, temperatures coming back down again. Now, on Saturday, you can see it's pretty cloudy with outbreaks of rain almost anywhere, really. Temperatures 10 to 13 Celsius, further south across the UK, still into the mid-teens. On Sunday, it's a little bit drier here in Scotland, a few showers, but a lot of cloud around, and you can see the winds developing from the north, so that'll send temperatures a bit lower. You can see that quite clearly on the outlook. Next couple of days, lots of sunshine, feeling warm, turning more unsettled into the weekend. That's the forecast.
We will enjoy it while we have it,
will.
Chris. Thank you. And thank you so much for being with us on tonight's news at 7. Laura Goodwin is here with you tomorrow night from 7. And there's more on all of our stories on the BBC News Scotland website. For now, though, good night from all of us. See you later.